Hey everybody, we are back. So after working out a few technical issues, I think I've actually got this figured out here where it's not going to flicker. So really hoping that this works out. So if you missed the first one, it is recorded on YouTube. Unfortunately, it's full of technical issues. So I'm going to play a little bit more of Doom here just to show off the Acer Aspire. And I'm just so glad I got this figured out to where it's actually going to work and not flicker and be basically unwatchable. It means I get to use this Acer Aspire for more future live streams because this is a cool PC and I really like it. Not to mention, I've got a new webcam that I'm using. The other one works just fine. It froze for whatever reason in the last stream, but this one shoots in 4K and it's got a way better picture. So unfortunately, I do still have to play on this monitor over here, but it just is going to be a lot better image for you guys. So we're going to go ahead and load up our old game and just pick up where we started off. Now, with the way this is capturing gameplay audio, I can't hear it anymore. So that's okay. I just won't be able to know when my enemies are nearby, but I can live with that. So let's go ahead and get our power-ups here. And pick up some more ammo for the shotgun. It's definitely not as satisfying not hearing the shotgun when these guys are nearby. But whatever. It's all for image quality. So like I was saying before, this game definitely freaked me out a lot when I was a kid. And I think part of that has to do with the fact that parts of the level are just like really dark and you can't see anything, but you can hear the enemies. Or like now, I can't hear them at all. If I was a kid, I'd be really freaked out. Just by turning a corner and seeing some of these badass enemies coming at me. Luckily for the most part, I'm older now, so it doesn't frighten me like it did when I was a child. Again, you be the judge. Was I too young to be playing Doom? Probably. That being said, I feel like all the kids my age had played Doom, or Wolfenstein, or one of those shoot 'em up type games of this nature, first person shooters. Because we definitely talked about it in school. It wasn't like a taboo subject. We probably didn't talk about it in church, but I didn't go to church much, so that wasn't a problem for me, I guess. I do think there are options to brighten up the screen a little bit. No, maybe not. All right, well, too bad. So, I I will say the one thing I picked up from Doom that I've used in later games is the when you open a door, you jump back immediately, and then wait for an enemy to pop out at you or start shooting at you. I've kind of carried that through to just about any first-person game I play, and honestly, any of the games I play. I'm always expecting there to be an encounter behind every door, and it served me well. I have to say, I've definitely preserved characters' health bars a lot by, not just blindly opening doors. Okay, I don't have a yellow key card yet, so can't do anything in here. 100% health, but leave those for later. All right. So, the cool thing is with Doom is that there was such depth to the game, despite it being made for I mean, let's be honest, pretty simple hardware. You know, I mean, you could run DOS on, boy, pretty primitive, by today's standards anyway, pretty primitive systems. So, you know, this game for the time was just outstanding. I mean, incredible, really. And there are low res graphics modes that you can use too that you know, make it even more accessible depending on what kind of hardware you are running. Um, which today, you know, doesn't seem like anything all that special, but it's a mind blow, really. Um, you know, to be able to play this on virtually any computer that was available for what, the better part of 30 years. I mean, to me, that's something. Whoa, that's something pretty special. You know, that's id Software. I think the reason why it endures for so many people is Doom, especially, is because honestly, it was so accessible. You know, it was one of those sneaker net games. If if you know what that is, maybe I'm dating myself a little bit, but it's one of those games that like everybody could get a copy. It was free, and you know it was so ubiquitous because anybody could play it that it was just something special. And that's just really cool. You know, it was something that you know, I don't think people went out of their way necessarily to get Doom, but because it was free and it was everywhere, pretty much everybody had it. And that really, you know, kind of made a difference, I think, in a lot of people's lives who, like me, I didn't have a lot of money growing up, so I didn't have a lot of games to play. So Doom was really, you know, for I guess lack of a better way of putting it, it was really my game. It was, you know, if I wanted to go play a shoot 'em up, I didn't have a lot of options. You know, I could go to the arcade and drop a bunch of quarters, or I could go on my computer and play this free game. Um, but again, I was scared little kid, so I was like, I don't want to play Doom. You know? But you know, it was still. I mean, I probably sunk, you know, 100 hours or more into this game, just learning the ins and outs. And at one time, in the long, long ago, I was pretty good at this game. I mean, I was definitely, you know, it was definitely a game that I spent a lot of time playing. That I don't have any yellow key card yet. I gotta figure out where this blue key card can take me. Here we go. Or this red one. You know, so for those of us who were, you know, maybe economically challenged in the 90s, Doom was just this accessible, popular game that a lot of people played and a lot of people enjoyed. Um, and you could, you know, play it without, you know, having to spend all your quarters or feel ostracized if, you know, you weren't great at it. Um, and if you didn't play it, I mean, it wasn't all that unusual either because PC games really, at least in my era, PC games were not the preference. A lot of people had, you know, Super Nintendo or Sega or PlayStation, and you know that was kind of that was the in. That was, you know, if you were playing video games, you were probably playing on a console, and it was more than likely one of those consoles, and you know that was fun. It was just a fun time to be a gamer. And you know, I think, you know, these days most people have a gaming system. You know, it's just a household staple now. But back then, you know, it was somewhat unusual to have multiple consoles, and if you did, it was very unusual to have one of, you know, a high quality. You know, you didn't typically have a PlayStation and you know, Super Nintendo. You usually had like a PlayStation, or maybe your parents had an old Atari or something like that. I was very fortunate. I had a Sega Genesis. I got a Super Nintendo and then a PlayStation, and so I had a lot of these games that. Ooh, hello, an area map. Ha ha! Very cool. Now, how do I toggle that? I don't remember. Hmm. Well, no matter. I have an area map now, but I don't know how to use it. Maybe it's in the read this file. No. Wow, so you could actually order Doom back in the day for 40 bucks. I didn't know that. I honestly didn't know that you could actually pay for the full version of this game. I think because everybody I knew who had it got it sneakernet. They got it for free from somebody, which I think there's anti-piracy disclaimers on the game. Although I don't remember anybody necessarily pirating it. I think it was more of like you threw it on a floppy and it was a tiny little game, so you didn't really need to be a software pirate or anything like that to get a copy of it. You just, I don't know, I feel like just everybody just had a copy. Um, that's where I found that computer map. Maybe that's all that's back here. It's hard to say. Again, not knowing the keys to the map necessarily. Oops. Okay. Well. Oh, there's a radiation suit. It's worth braving the poison. Now, the radiation suits only last so long. So, whatever I'm doing here, there must be a purpose to it. There's the yellow key card. Oh. Partial invisibility. Backpack full of ammo. Even I remember that stuff. Don't know how he knew I was there. Another backpack full of ammo. Ooh, and it even charged up my cells. Oh yeah, there's this bastard. Now these guys could be invisible, and that was what used to really scare me in this game. Was like, not only were there badass enemies all the way around, a lot of the times you couldn't see them. And on an old VGA monitor, like, it was hard to see anything just normally. But even more so when it was like meant to be invisible. Still don't know how to toggle that computer map, but I don't think there's really anything else back here to find necessarily. The cool thing about the backpacks full of ammo is it increases the amount of ammo you can carry overall. So doubling back on all these areas isn't really necessarily a bad thing, because I can go pick up all the ammo I missed from before. Oh, and or some of the health bonuses. Let's see. I will say the crappy thing about not knowing how to toggle this map is I don't actually know how to get out of here. Alright, now that's the end of the road there. I think I need to go this way. And then that way. There we go. I have the yellow key card now. If I remember right, there are a number of doors that open with the yellow key card, so just go find all of them. I know this was a network game, and I said in the other stream capture, I never networked with Doom. I played Quake, Counter-Strike, StarCraft, Warcraft, but never Doom. And I don't know that there was ever really a specific reason. I think that honestly we just didn't have the install file. to network Doom to play it. Um, I have it now, of course, but back in the day, I'm pretty confident we didn't have that. I took a computer construction class in high school, and part of the final exam was you had to build a network um, of some design. I think ours was just a web. Um, and then you had to successfully be able to play a game on the network. Obviously, you had to build your own PC and everything, but I thought that was a fine challenge, and I feel like if there are computer construction classes today, they should definitely involve that as part of the curriculum. Because I learned a ton um, having to network my own compute. Well, first of all, build my own computer from literally ground up, spare parts, and then create a network with 15 other kids, and then somehow figure out how to interface with all their computers. Set up a game for everybody that everybody could play. You had to have the appropriate hardware to play the game, the appropriate hardware to interface, and then the biggest challenge, of course, was at any point, because this could, the final exam took the full last week of class. So at any point, one of the teachers might come by and just pull a jumper off your board, or pull a wire or two, or loosen up your processor, so suddenly the whole machine didn't work, and it was like, what the heck? And you had to be able to troubleshoot. You had to be able to figure that out. So if you weren't paying attention in class, you may end up with just a non-working computer that all of a sudden you had to figure out, why isn't this working? Why can't I play the game? And if you couldn't, you'd lose points on your final exam. It didn't happen a lot. I mean, I think they kind of scared us with that more than anything. But I definitely came into an overclock, that I did not intend on more than one occasion, and started to get heating issues. And I'd have the beep speaker just disappear from from my motherboard, and then it was like, well, what the hell? Why is this overheating? Why does it keep shutting down? And that was just part of the game. You just had to figure it out, and once you did, you basically just kind of got to play, and that was really the fun of the class. Now, the cool thing was, part of the test was also you had to use Telnet to hack, and then hack your classmates' computers. And ultimately, your goal with the hacking was to bring down the network, or do something substantial enough where it created issues for others, and then the others would have to figure out, okay, how do I fix this? And we did all sorts of stuff like denial of service, and just annoying shit like flipping the screen backwards so you couldn't read what you were doing, or your mouse moved in the wrong direction. And one thing that everybody seemed to continuously forget was performing a Windows update. So when a buddy of mine, he was the only one who was really successful with the hacking, he managed to give everybody a backdoor virus where he was able to get into everybody's computer simultaneously and essentially like take over and flip everybody's screen upside down, just do all these annoying things. And then he managed to crash the whole network. Oh, shit. There's that invisible guy I told you about. So he manages to crash the whole network. Everybody goes down except for me. And the only reason my computer didn't go down was because I was the only person in class who bothered to stay connected long enough to run Windows updates on the computer I was using. And those Windows updates were essentially what prevented the backdoor from shutting down my computer. So that's a brief history of what what got me into computing. Hey, Mark Luke, thanks for joining the stream, buddy. I appreciate you. I'm glad you joined this one because the the video is actually coming through in the feed pretty nice, and I have the webcam working, which wasn't working previously. So if you do watch the other recording, unfortunately that one didn't work, but hopefully this one works okay. So definitely continue to engage on the chat. I'm going to try and pay attention to it that I can. Um, and let's see. So yeah, if you are watching, or if you come across this and recording later, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. Just helps us out as content creators in that quest for monetization. Also, it helps me out if I do end up getting monetized at some point in the future. I would really like to continue to deliver good content for you guys, and part of that's just going to be, you know, having the money to afford it. Um, Whether it's buying better equipment to do live streams or buying, you know, shelf space to keep, spare parts on, uh, mylar bags to keep spare parts in to prevent static issues, all that good stuff. I mean, I'm not really out to make anybody, watch ads to make a fortune for myself. Not that I'm against it necessarily, but my interest is purely more for providing fun. Speaking of fun, the Digital Escape podcast is also available here on YouTube. You can also check us out at digitалescapepod.com. Our brand new website just launched. We are weekly, episodic, just three guys basically talking things we like, things we don't like, things that make us mad, things that make us happy, and some fun memories and stories. Kind of like what I'm doing right now, except we don't typically stream any games. Um, but we just kind of hang out and chit chat and so on and so forth. And we are available here on YouTube as well. If you prefer that over other streaming services, we are definitely available here. Most of our episodes, our latest episodes, I should say, are available here on YouTube. Um, we also have a sister podcast, The Warp Core, myself and my friend Lord Uther from the Digital Escape podcast. The two of us talk Star Trek. Right now, we're going through all of the original series Star Trek movies. And basically, we just talk through our thoughts, our observations, things we like, things we didn't like, and then give them all a fair shake and an honest, modern view. Certainly, uh, seeing as YouTube is one of those platforms where you get to kind of skip and hop around and do what you'd like, which I highly encourage you to do. If you want to check out our Digital Escape podcast, we would love to hear from you too. And we'd love to do a segment on the show where we go through listeners. Every week we do a top seven, favorite this or that, or least favorite this or that. And that would be a fun thing that if you wanted to contribute to, just leave us a comment on our YouTube page, or you can hit us up on Facebook, Digital Escape Podcast, or through our website. There is a contact us via email option. Um, so if that's something you're interested in, you can definitely hit us up there. But definitely, if you listen to our show and think, hey, I got a pretty interesting list and some things maybe they didn't think about or they didn't touch on that perhaps would be interesting for others. Cool, man. I mean, that's the whole goal, right? Is to engage with our community. I know just from this community on my page here, Urza Master, I've gotten a lot of great tips and tricks on some of my computers that I've restored. Uh, just knowing stuff that I didn't know or things I'd forgotten about from, like I said, computer construction class was back in high school for me, which was not the longest amount of time ago, but no short time ago, that's for sure. So it's been a number of years. I mean, honestly, if you see this Acer Aspire running Windows 98 and you think, well, why on earth would you run Windows 98 these days? Well, honestly, Windows 98 was newer than a lot of the stuff I was running in my computer construction class. Um, Although some of the systems we did build had Windows NT or um, more modern-ish OS software, but I was kind of raised on the old tried and true DOS systems, and you know, stuff that by today's standards would not hold a candle to anything you could run. The cool thing is, I think, having used all that old software and grown up on those old crappy OSs, now with modern systems, not only do I appreciate the fact that they just work out of the box, I also kind of know if something breaks, pretty much how to fix it. Be it hardware or software, most of the time. I'm not God's gift to computer engineering by any stretch, but I definitely have, worked my way around a bad system or two that needed some troubleshooting. So there's some value in it, for those of you who are thinking about getting into retro gaming or retro computing. Don't be afraid to explore some of those old crappy OSs. Windows 95, Windows ME, Windows 3.1. Those are all systems that had value to them, and some of them were better than you probably remember. I know I was really impressed by how good Windows 95 was after having not used it for a very, very long time, and then kind of being reintroduced to it. Um, it was very surprising how capable that system was. And I know it seems kind of odd to think about it that way these days, but it really was. It was a great system for the era. And again, a lot of the machines that ran DOS or Windows 3.1 also could run Windows 95. And old machines that really had no use anymore got new life through Windows 95. Kind of like with Doom. If you had an old DOS machine and you upgraded it and your kids wanted a computer to play with, but they wanted to play a game, you had very few options really, other than spending the coin on getting them, a newer modern Pentium processor machine, or they could take your old 486 for a spin and play, Doom. Um, I mean, there are other games. Obviously, I'm glossing over a large library of games that could be played on those old systems, but there remains something to be said for the fact that these old DOS games, which a lot of them are very fun, um, really breathed new life into some of the older machines that otherwise were ending up in landfills or recyclers, or just in somebody's basement, never to be heard from again until, well, they end up in my hands eventually, and then I restore them and they end up in my basement. So, um, but it's in a way it's a hobby that's fun, but there's some purpose with it too. I like to believe that the machines I restore aren't going to end up in a landfill, um, and what that's ultimately going to do is, help promote recycling, help save the environment, but also give people the opportunity to see some of this old hardware without having to, go out to eBay and spend a fortune on a machine that you're really looking to just play a niche game or relive some nostalgia. Um, you know, I have yet to spend more than a couple bucks per machine for these older rigs, but it's there's value in them, so it's like I'm not going to say that paying good money for some of these older machines is a mistake, because I do think they should be saved and preserved to at least some extent. But yeah, it doesn't hurt to acknowledge the fact that they are super outdated. I would say that this is definitely a hobbyist machine more than anything. But the Acer Aspire machine that this is running on is a cool computer. It's got a built-in speaker, which is unusual. I mean, in all the retro machines I've ever worked with, um, I don't think I've ever seen one with an internal speaker um, that's this capable. I mean, this is a full sound card speaker that has depth. It has some bass to it. It's not just a beep. It's not just this or that. It gives you a pretty a pretty good experience of sound. That was interesting. I got damaged over here by something. Oh well. I lost my train of thought. Well, I was just rambling. Um, but again, the cool part about these retro machines is like, I built my first computer and it was a Cyrix 686. Um, the first computer I built in computer construction was a Pentium, and then I built a P2. And at the time, P3 was new. So I did not have a P3 at my behest until very recently. Um, but I will say the Pentium 3 processor is a pretty cool processor. It's got a lot of capability. I think I wish my computers had back in the day. Um, but it's just amazing to see how far, in a very very short amount of time, how far these machines have come. And really, honestly, you know, I think back to when I first started fooling around with computers. I mean, we were just out of the x86 era. Really, it was really the dawn of the Pentium era. Um, and I didn't. Boy, I don't think I had a good computer, quote unquote, until college when I built my first custom rig, which there's a video of that on my channel. Digging through that, that was an Athlon XP X64. I forget. Oh, it's been so long. Um, but yeah, I mean, you know, I do think again that there's value in just having crappy technology that you grow up on, because if something goes wrong with the good stuff, you probably can figure out how to fix it without having to pay an IT guy or, you know, waste your time in line at Best Buy waiting for the Geek Squad or calling the Genius Bar or the Mac people if you're a Mac person. Um, that's the one machine I never really got to play with is the Mac. So I'm hoping at some point I'll have one of those up and running that we can fool around with on video and on the channel. I have a couple, Mac Plus and a Mac Classic. Um, I don't know that I'll be able to restore the Classic. The Mac Plus, I fooled around with it a few times. I have a couple of videos out there. I think that one needs a drive and possibly a drive controller. I do know it needs a battery. I just haven't ordered one or built one. I know you can rig up one and build one out, but I haven't done that either. Um, Not necessarily because I don't want to. It's just I haven't had the time. Um, but there's also some odds and ends to that PCs just didn't have. The proprietary stuff that Macs came with. There's a reason why we always called them Mac and trash back in the day. Um, but anywho, again, just rambling as I play Doom. Computer station finished. So with that, hey, I really appreciate everybody watching today. Sorry for all the technical difficulties we had in the first stream. Thank you again to my first 100 subscribers. It really means a lot that you take the time to watch my videos, click through, share, and like what I put out there. I want to keep delivering quality content. If there's something you'd like to see, just drop me a line in the comments. If I can come across the hardware or software that you're looking to see, I will definitely try it. I know I haven't done any like formal benchmarking software on any of these computers. At this point, I just don't know that that's 100% necessary, but if there's one you want to see me run a benchmarking program on, let me know what program you want me to use, ideally where I can find it, if it's not easily Googleable, and I'd be more than happy to benchmark any of the computers I've looked at. Just go back through my videos, find whatever one you'd like, whatever you want to see more on. Other than that, yet again, it took me 9 more minutes than it should have to beat this level, but I don't have any maps or anything. I got the computer map in the one level and couldn't figure out how to toggle it. So it's clearly been like 20 years since I played this game, but I really appreciate all your time. Thank you again. If you haven't subscribed, please do hit that subscription button, hit the notification button to stay up to date with all things Urza Master. Hit that like button on the videos that you do watch. I do appreciate that. It helps me out quite a bit and helps me know what kind of content you're looking for. On top of that, you can check me out also on the Digital Escape Podcast here on YouTube, or you can see us over at digitалescapepod.com. We are available, our podcast, on all streaming services, but the Warp Core podcast, which is a sub-podcast of the Digital Escape Podcast, it's also weekly episodic, and it is exclusive to YouTube. So if you want to feel like you're an exclusive part of the community of Star Trek nerds, myself and Lord Uther, we are making that show every week, and look forward to sharing more and more great content with you. Thanks again for your time. Have a great week, everybody, and